Welcome to Therapist Spotlight.
Hello everybody and welcome to Ange's Therapist Spotlight, the podcast where we aim to showcase our wonderful members to the wider community. I'm your host Joshua Brooks, and tonight we've got a wonderful homeopath called Eugenie Kruger. So Eugenie, how are you today?
I'm very well, thanks. How about yourself?
Not too bad.
Can I take a moment as well?
Sure.
You know, you guys really deserve to be acknowledged, yourself and Anta, for the hard work that you're doing in producing this podcast and also your YouTube channel. I don't think many people know how much work goes into putting something like this together. And I just have to say that as a member, it's really nice being part of an organization that's working so hard to support its members. So I will definitely continue to renew my membership.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes,
No worries.
Been a bit of a labor of love for us all here, but we're more than happy to do it. Because again, natural therapies has such an important part to play in the landscape of health, I believe. So it's wonderful to showcase what we can all do, all of our lovely members. So thank you so much for the compliment. So with that, how did you get into natural health?
Well, so we had a homeopath when I was little, and unfortunately, when I was about 2 or 3 years old, he moved away. So we received all the stock standard pharmaceuticals that you did. And luckily, we were pretty healthy kids, so we didn't have too many pharmaceuticals. But I never really knew what natural medicine was. I didn't even know it was a thing. But somehow I always knew that touch can be very healing. So in 1998, I did a certificate in Shiatsu, and then I did Reiki 1, then Reiki 2, then a diploma in massage. And you can probably see where this is heading. In 2010, I thought, hey, I'm going to become a naturopath. So walked into naturopathic college, and we were forced to do this introduction to homeopathy paper. And I say forced because I had no interest in homeopathy. I didn't actually even really know what it was, but I just, the little bit that I heard about it, I thought, no, it's not something that I'd be interested in. I tried to get out of the paper and I couldn't. So reluctantly walked into this classroom. And an hour later, I walked out straight to the registrar's office and changed my pathway to become a homeopath instead.
Wow. They always say that, don't they? Like what we resist the most is sort of what we're destined for sometimes.
That's very true. That's very true. Yeah, for me, it was just this incredible aha moment because my husband and I were planning on starting a family in the coming years, and learning that homeopathy is safe in pregnancy and for little kiddies, that was huge for me. And I'm sure you haven't been pregnant yourself, Josh, but I have. So I can tell you that when you're pregnant, there's hardly anything that you can eat, that you can take. You know, when you've got a cold, when you're pregnant, you can't take any of the stock standard pharmaceuticals. When you've got a newborn baby, you know, from my years of working in the health shop, I know that until they're six months to about 2 years old, you can't really give them a lot of herbs and supplements and things like that as well. So when you're pregnant and you've got a baby under 2, it's really hard to give them stuff that is safe and natural and effective and that doesn't have contraindications. So homeopathy was a no-brainer for me when I found out that it's safe to use in pregnancy and on newborns. So that's why that's now become my passion to help other families use homeopathy as well for their own children and their own families.
Yeah, wonderful. So is that your main passion with homeopathy, or is there other sorts of things? Yeah, what else grips you about this wonderful medicine?
Everything grips me about homeopathy. I mean, I've been doing it for a decade. I still am as passionate about it, if not more than the first day I learned about it, because for one, I get bored quickly, and homeopathy I've never been able to be bored with homeopathy. There's so much to learn. We've got over 8,000 different remedies. There's new methods of prescribing coming out all the time. I'm constantly doing professional development. There's just so much to learn. So it's impossible to get bored. But my specialty is women and children. I only treat women and children. And I have a couple of other specialties as well. So I don't know if you want me to.
Yeah, please. Yeah. That. Yeah, everything.
How long is this podcast? 2 hours, right? No, so I do, the classical prescribing, but that's enhanced by something called homeopathic detox therapy. So it's not many homeopaths that use that, unfortunately, but I think it's something that's going to be gaining a lot more traction because it's incredibly powerful in this day and age where there's so many pharmaceuticals and, so much layers that are in people's vital force. And you, with your TCM background, we talk about chi, but there's all these layers here, and homeopathy is really powerful to help to remove a lot of those layers and, get to actually treat the vital force itself. So homeopathic detox therapy helps to remove some of these layers by, you can use it for things like parasites or candida. If somebody's been on the contraceptive pill, any sort of pharmaceuticals, like, if there's a big history of steroids or Ventolin, for our little clients with pandas, we can do a strep detox, and it's very gentle. And with things like Candida, let's face it, nobody wants to go on the Candida diet. It's really hard to do. And especially if you've got a little child with Candida issues, getting them to stick to the Candida diet can be hard. But as homeopaths, we tend to not really touch the diet as much. So we just use the remedies alongside what it is that they're already doing. And it just helps to get rid of those layers that have been created.
Yeah, wonderful. And so what is it necessarily about women and children that you just find so fascinating to treat? Why has that become your passion? Is it just because you're a mother, or is there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my children are almost 10 and almost 7, and I still so acutely remember all those, late nights, of no sleep, teething babies, fevers, earaches, all those things. And luckily I had homeopathy there, because my kids have never had antibiotics. They've never had Panadol. They're hardly ever sick. And when they are, it's one day. There's no snotty noses that carry on for weeks or coughs that linger for months. It's nothing like that. So if I can give that huge empowering feeling to other parents as well, that's where I think you can create the biggest change. And also, if you can get the foundation for a child's health nice and strong, then it's so much easier later on, rather than as adults have, looking back and they've had all this history of all these pharmaceuticals, and then trying to treat them is really hard. Whereas if you have a child with a strong constitution, later on as an adult, it's just much easier to treat them then. And
so I guess I really like a lot of different homeopathy, because I've had different things and I've found really good results. I don't know if you'd classify flower essences as homeopathy, or
definitely, yeah. It's not something that I use much of. It's for some reason, and that's why it's so great that there's so many different natural health therapies, because everyone resonates with something different. It's not something I've ever really resonated with, but I don't use them as much. I know you do, because I listened to one of the podcasts. I know you like them. Yeah,
I love them. Yeah,
I'll send people to you then.
So I was going to just ask, like, what brand of homeopathy do you like? Like, what type of homeopathy do you prescribe, and do you like to do?
Yes, so like I said, the constitutional prescribing, the homeopathic detox therapy, but then I have 2 other specialties, which is using bowel nosodes. So they're kind of like homeopathic probiotics. And because I have some naturopathic training, we all know it's all about the gut. So I love these bowel nosodes because they really help to balance the gut. And we don't just use them for things like eczema, which you would, assume somebody would use a bowel nosode or a probiotic for something like that, or to build the immunity, or for any digestive things. These bowel nosodes are actually really good for things like PTSD as well. And so I often prescribe it for a lot of my mums that have anger issues. They might have just been, dad might be FIFO. We're here in Perth, so a lot of the families I work with are FIFO. So she might be at home with a little one. She's got no family around, and just, stress or fight or flight all the time, just so stressed out, and then the anger comes out. And so a lot of these mums I prescribe a bowel nosode for. It's called Proteus, and it's really good. It's actually, you would enjoy this story. So I don't know, do you know much about Edward Bach, who did the flower essences? Do you know much about what he did beforehand?
Yeah, a little bit.
Did you know that he was actually the one that started the bowel nosodes? So before he worked with flowers, he worked with poo. So a lot of these bowel nosodes was actually discovered by him, and then after that he went with flowers.
Yeah, wow.
I understand why. But so the bowel nosodes are incredibly powerful, and I use them for a variety of things. Another one of my passions is using the endocrine sarcodes. So they are homeopathic remedies made from the pineal gland, hypothalamus, obviously testosterone and progesterone, thyroid hormone, all of that. And obviously, because I work with women, I see a lot of endocrine dysfunction, and then using these remedies to help balance the endocrine system is just really wonderful and gentle and super effective.
And so for those people who are maybe not quite as familiar with homeopathy, what's the underlying theory about it? How does it work? And so you're talking about like nosodes and that sort of stuff. So what exactly are they, and what exactly is a homeopathic remedy? Okay,
so I have a course. It's an hour and 40 minutes long, and it explains all of homeopathy and how it works. And we've had over 1,000 people do it. And the feedback I often get is that, wow, I just didn't know anything about homeopathy. It's so powerful. I can see how it can benefit my life. But in short, Homeo means similar, and pathy means suffering. So homeopathy is based on the principle of like cures like. So basically, something that can cause a symptom in a healthy person can cure that same symptom in a sick person. And I know that sounds like goobly gob, so I'll give you an example. Have you ever chopped an onion? Are you any good in the kitchen? Have you?
I'm not good in the kitchen. I'm not good in the kitchen, but I have chopped an onion. Yeah.
Okay. And what happens when you chop an onion?
Oh, I cry.
Okay, excellent. So we have this excellent remedy called Allium cepa, and it's a really good remedy for hay fever or colds, where one of the keynote symptoms is streaming eyes. And you can probably guess what that remedy is made from.
Onions, I'm guessing.
Onions, yes. So the onion caused you, in a healthy person, to have streaming eyes. So when we then see a sick person with a symptom in our clinic of the streaming eyes, we give them the thing that is known to cause that symptom, and then the vital force recognize that, and it can heal those symptoms. So that's the basic of it, without going too much further, because homeopathy can seem a bit confusing, but once you have the main concepts grasped, it's really something that anyone can use in their home. And of my group of over 700 mums now that are all part of my Facebook membership, which we're going to be moving onto a different platform shortly because of privacy issues, and don't have to go into Facebook. But anyway, so I've got 700 mums there that are all using homeopathy for themselves on a daily basis. And it was just a matter of teaching them these key concepts on how they can use homeopathy for themselves. And now they're just going for it. They blow me away sometimes with, the incredible successes that they have with using these remedies for themselves, and it's so cost effective. It's, between $12 and sort of $18 for a bottle, which will have hundreds of pillules in it. Their homeopathic remedies don't expire. So we do have to put a 5-year expiry date on them, but lots of my colleagues have got stories of 70 and 80-year-old remedies that they're still using successfully. So it really is an investment in your family's health, every remedy that you buy, because, they last forever, as long as you store them correctly.
Yeah. And so, well, that might be interesting. So how do you store them correctly?
I have you can see my bottles behind me. Sorry for those on the podcast that can't see it. You'll have to go onto the YouTube channel and then you can see them. And subscribe. So we store them in amber glass because they are light sensitive, and then obviously just taking it away from food. The old homeopaths would have told you, 100 years ago, they would have said, don't eat anything for half an hour before and after taking a remedy. And a lot of my clients still these days, they think that's what you do. So when I tell them, no, that's a little bit extreme, because otherwise you end up just never taking your remedy, because who doesn't eat for an hour? So if you are taking a remedy, just take some water to clean your mouth, then take your remedy, wait about 5 minutes, and then you can eat again. And I find that is effective enough. And we want to make it as easy as possible for a client to be compliant with their prescription. So if you tell them, they can't eat for half an hour before and after, people just don't end up taking their remedies. So I try to make it as simple and user-friendly and easy for my clients as possible.
Yeah, wonderful. And that's one of the biggest problems, isn't it? When they don't sort of stick to the routine, it just loses the efficacy quite. Yeah.
I've got to say, and because there are sugar pillules, I've got to say I do have 100% compliance. It's not like a lot of those herbs that are quite bitter. So the kiddies love it. I have a video Mum sent me of her little 3-month-old baby. She was an early teether, the drool was already starting. And the mum would bring the bottle close to the baby's mouth, and she would just start opening her mouth. They love their little pillules because they're, little sugar-based pillules, but they're just teeny tiny, so you're not getting in much sugar. But still.
And they can probably feel the resonance of the medicine coming forward.
I actually think so. Yeah, some people are very sensitive to the remedies. They can feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that just sounds amazing. Giving back that power, that's just wonderful. And so, if I was a client who was coming to you, how would a consultation with you look? How would it go? What sort of questions do you ask? How do we go about this sort of things? What testing do you do? Yeah. What's a homeopathic consultation look like?
That's a really good question, actually. So I do have a very extensive questionnaire that I send out to my clients, and it does take them ages to fill it out. But I believe that the second you start putting your name on that questionnaire, the healing process is starting, because you're committing to spending time on your own health. And so clients have to fill it all out, have to answer questions about their childhood, about, obviously medications that they're on, and aches and pains and all that sort of thing, and what makes the complaint better, what makes it worse. But I believe the second they start filling that out, that healing process is already starting. And also it starts to give them a little bit of an idea of what they can expect when they come in. So when a client comes in, obviously I'll ask what their main complaint is and we'll start around that. We do talk a lot about, if, for example, you came in and you said you had a cough and it's been going on for a couple of years, it just comes and goes. So I will ask you, so Josh, what happened around the time that it started? And you might say, oh, I was living in a different city or whatever at the time. And then we moved. And once we moved to the new place, I started developing this cough. So after we've ruled out sort of environmental factors, is there any mold in the building or things like that? I might ask something like, okay, so how did you feel about the move? Were you upset about that or were you happy about that? And then they might say, you might say, oh, I was actually really upset. I didn't really want to go because I had to leave it behind my favorite dog or something. And then, we might go into those things and it might turn out that this cough is actually related to a deep-seated grief that you might have. So we might give you the remedy Ignatia, which your vital force, once you take that remedy, will recognize the disharmony in there and it will just magically, just dissolve all those symptoms, because the symptoms are just an expression of disharmony within the vital force. So if we can find out what is that disharmony, what is it that triggered for your body to give you the symptom to say, hey, I'm not feeling good about this happening, and then once we can get to that, the real deep underneath of why the symptom is happening, we cure that and then the symptom goes away.
With that, do you find sometimes that you need to give one or two remedies and then they'll open, because sometimes they don't even understand their own body or their own landscape? So you sort of have that inkling that there's a bit, but the more homeopathics you get, it sort of like starts to strip away that layer and then all of a sudden they'll have that insight.
Yeah, and it definitely depends on what type of person you talk to. Some of them will come in, guns blazing and tell you their whole life story, and that's great because we can really quickly get there. Other people, because of, multiple hurts or whatever else, they want to get to know you first. They want to build that rapport. They want to know that they can trust you. So we might just have some remedies to just gently get in there. And, I also believe that you treat the person where they're at. So if, there might have been some deep childhood abuse or something like that, you might not go in there straight away with a remedy to address that. You might actually just treat something else to, until their body is ready to actually release all that pain. So we do just prescribe where the person is at.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad that you said that, because my experience with flower essences was exactly that, right? Like it triggered my trauma like straight away. I didn't even realize it. I took a few drops and all of a sudden I was like, what is going on? Bang, it was straight there.
Wow.
And so I've heard the same sort of stuff with homeopathy. So because it's so powerful. And so
it really is, when you get the right remedy, it's amazing. I mean, I had that for myself. I had a just this real weird eczema thing that came up on my hand out of the blue, and I've never had eczema things in my life. And this was about 10 years ago when we had actually moved. And then I tried all these different remedies, and I was studying at the time, and I said to my lecturer, I've tried all these remedies, nothing has worked. And then she said, have you tried your miasmatic remedy? Now, a miasmatic remedy is a remedy that has the ability to clear epigenetic imprints that you have been handed down from your ancestors. So I just read through my textbook and worked out which was my miasmatic remedy. I took one dose, gone. So yeah, it was amazing. And it's been my remedy that I've used over the past 10 years. And, funny enough, my son has actually turns out to have the same remedy, like constitutionally and miasmatically for himself. So it was very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That I think is one of the really interesting things, isn't it? That ancestral trauma and that ancestral healing that can come down. And to be able to address that is such a gift.
It really is. That's why, I mean, like I said, I don't know how many hours you've got, but I can talk about homeopathy all day long because it's very powerful. To me as a practitioner, I feel so empowered because there's so many different remedies. I mean, I don't want to have the people on the podcast miss out, but I could show you there's 1,000 more over here. There's so many remedies, something for everything. So we're never running out of options to help our clients and our families.
And so it's similar to a flower essence where you do 7 drops in a bit of apple cider vinegar and then they take that 7 drops under the tongue, or is it more like you said, the nosode? So you're taking pills, so how does it come in, or is it both depending upon what remedy it is? How does that sort of work?
So we use pilules mostly, and I think everyone's going to have to go to the YouTube channel now because I'm going to show you how to take it. But basically, I don't know if you can see there. It's just teeny tiny pilules, and you just pop them onto your tongue and suck on them. Yeah. So you can get the drops as well. So, and you just put the drops straight on the tongue. I do have a couple of clients that are super sensitive. So for them, we might put the drops in a little bit of water and have them stir it, and then just take 1 teaspoon of that water as 1 dose. So that's very rare, but it does happen. Everyone's so unique.
Yeah, definitely. And so do you mix and match homeopathic remedies as well? Like, would you prescribe 2 or 3 at once, or do you sort of keep it to single remedies?
I do, yes. I'm definitely not what you would call a classical prescriber. I started out that way, but because I just had so many cases where I was like, this is the right remedy. Why is it not working? And that's when I discovered homeopathic detox therapy, you know, the bowel nosos, the endocrine sarcodes, all these other things. And, you know, the children that you see these days, they would have had 40 vaccines by the time that they're 4 years old. Not to mention all the antibiotics that they would have had on top of that. They might have had a C-section birth. They might have had antibiotics at birth, you know. So it's not the same as 20 years ago or 40 years ago when I was a kid there, where, you know, you have a pretty clean slate. So we have to start getting out the big guns to really be able to help our little clients and our adults as well. But so my prescriptions are a little bit hectic, I would say. So often I will do homeopathic detox therapy alongside a bowel noso. If they need an endocrine sarcode, we'll throw that in. You know, we might do a weekend remedy where it's their miasmatic remedy and the constitutional remedies thrown in there as well. So, you know, I think if there's any homeopaths listening to this, they will probably cringe when I say this, but something that I've been doing is working, because as of a few months ago, I closed my books. I was getting booked out 10 weeks in advance, and my clients were complaining that it's been brilliant. And since I've been using these methods the last 2 years and just completely changing my prescribing. So my current clients were complaining they can't get in for their follow-ups, because I usually do a follow-up 8 weeks after the initial. And I thought, it's not fair. I'm not about quantity. I'm about quality. So I closed my books. I got a wonderful homeopath on board, and she's now taking all my new clients, and I just focus on my existing clients. So I've only got about a 5-6 week waiting period at the moment, but it still works in with my existing clients.
And that's just amazing to hear. Like, that's so wonderful. It makes me so happy. Like,
yeah, and you know, all natural health practitioners deserve to be busy and successful, because I think we do great work. We are so needed in this, this world that we're in at the moment.
Well, absolutely. And it's so funny when you were talking about that, like the complex cases, because I was talking to a 30-year practicing naturopath, and he was saying that, you know, the cases are getting more and more complex because, again, we're getting more and more sick as a society. You know, there's more and more chemicals, there's more and more toxins, there's more and more everything that's building up in our body. So, so I guess sometimes maybe that classical remedies that would have worked, because, you know, you have 1 or 2 in like arsenic or just 1 or 2 chemicals. Now, you know, you've got a whole bunch of different things. So, we sort of have to, I guess, modern times require us to modernize our thinking and thought patterns a little bit more.
I think so. And I think if it wasn't working, then, you know, if I had no clients, then, you know, I would say, okay, obviously this isn't working, go back to classical prescribing, but what I'm doing is working. And I've helped other practitioners to prescribe in a similar way, and they're seeing much better results as well. So I do think we always need to be open-minded. We always need to, you know, nothing is set in stone, and don't be scared to be proven wrong. Keep your mind open, learn what's out there. And if something else resonates better with you, go with it. And at the end of the day, keep your client in mind. And if they are your mirror, and they will tell you if what you're giving them is not working. And if it's not, you need to ask why, and you need to go and do more professional development, or ask more questions, or, you know, just adapt to your clients and make sure that they're getting the best results possible.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I was having this conversation today. It's like one of the beautiful parts of natural medicine is we can really put the human in the middle of the medicine. Like, we can really put our client first, that we look at the human who's there. And like you said, what was the emotion that you were feeling when you moved house? Like, you know, who's going to ask that? Like, it's such a big thing for a lot of our natural therapies, because we can know that will get lodged in there, and we have to sort of allow that to come out, and we have to allow that to detox as well. I believe that human element makes us so powerful in the way that we can move forward in the health landscape.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I have this really big dream, and they say if you have a dream, you need to tell as many people as possible, and that will come true. So I'm going to say it on here, and that is to see natural therapists working alongside doctors in hospitals.
Yeah,
you know, can you imagine somebody wakes up from their surgery and the acupuncturist is right there, or the homeopath is there to give them arnica the second they wake up, or, you know, the naturopath is there giving them a supplement to help speed up their healing. Like, how amazing would that be?
Oh, it'd be
I'm sitting here getting goosebumps as I'm saying it, because that's my 10-year goal, is to have natural health practitioners working in hospitals, because we have so much to offer, and it doesn't have to be one or the other. They work together so beautifully.
That's it, right? And it's the landscape. It's just like that healthcare landscape. What's best for the client? What are you going to do for your client? Because at the end of the day, there does seem to be a little bit too much ego in a lot of natural health and Western medicine. And at the end of the day, it's not about us. It's about getting that person who wants something to help them, getting them better and getting them moving forward.
I always say, I have so much empathy for doctors because I could not help somebody in 15 minutes. If I had one client after the other, 15 minutes in, out, next person, 15 minutes, I couldn't help anyone. And I don't think it can be very good for your mental health as a practitioner to have somebody in and out every 15 minutes. Like if somebody's coming in with a chronic health complaint, you need to sit with them. Like, our initials are an hour and a half. You need to sit there for that hour and a half. And I need to have this full-on questionnaire. And then I can start to help you with a chronic complaint. Acute things, obviously, that's fine. If you've got an earache, these are our top remedies. One of these is probably going to work. But if you're coming in with a chronic health complaint, you need to have that time with the person to really help them. And so,
And so I guess what I'd also like to ask you now is, you said that you had a Facebook group for mums. Is that just for your clients, or is that for all mums who want to talk about homeopathy? What sort of
anyone? We are actually the timing of this podcast is great because we're just about to launch a membership off Facebook. So anyone can join that. It will be a paid membership, but we're going to be keeping the fees as low as possible to make it accessible for everyone. And then you can learn about homeopathy. I also have a free online course. Some of that's going to change a little bit, but the first half an hour of it will always stay free. So anyone who wants to learn about homeopathy will have the opportunity to do so, and we'll tell you teach you the basics of it within half an hour, and we compact a lot of information in that half an hour. And we're also going to be starting up a podcast and a YouTube channel. So we'll be following in your footsteps. So
I love it. Let's get more out there.
That's what I think as well. So there's lots happening, but I think my website is probably the best place to go and find out what's going on, because a lot is going to be changing in the next couple of months.
Yep. And so what you were saying as well is that you're not actually taking new clients yourself, but you've got another homeopath that is?
I do. And my goal is to get lots of homeopaths on board eventually. So we'll be like a one-stop shop. If you want a homeopath, here are the ones that are all trained in all the new methods. Come and see us, and we'll put you in touch with somebody that can help you and is getting lots of professional development done and is up to play with all the latest in homeopathy.
Yeah, wonderful. And so where can they contact you for that? Just through your website as well? Is that the best place, or is there
Website is best, eugeniekruger.com.au. So Eugenie like the princess and Kruger like the national park.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on Therapist Spotlight. We've really, really enjoyed our time with you. Like, it's been amazing.
Thank you so much. Like I said, at any time, I would like to ask you a bit more about TCM, because it's definitely something I'm interested in as well. And like we said, said to you earlier, I think TCM and homeopathy can actually work along really beautifully. So
yeah, definitely. Well,
hopefully I'll see you in the hospital in 10 years' time.
Be careful what you wish for. My friends tell me that once they get started on TCM, I don't shut up. So
excellent. Wonderful. That's great. It's great that you've got that passion, and your clients are going to see that as well, and I'm sure they're getting great benefits. So it's wonderful.
Definitely. Well, everybody else who's out there around the Perth, do you do tele?
I do, all over. Yes,
all
I do.
Over. So anyone who's really thinking about homeopathy, especially if you're a mother or you've got children or anything like that, please get in touch with Eugenie. All the links again will be underneath so that there's no confusion, and we'll send you straight to our website. But yeah, we'd just like to thank you once again for coming on.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No worries. And for everybody out there, have a great night, have a great life, and we'll catch you all next time. See ya.
Thank you for listening to Therapist Spotlight. If you would like to know more about ANTA, visit us at www.anta.com.au.